What up, friends? It's not yours, it's mine. And today we're going to be reviewing aespa's newest mini-album, My World. This is the third mini-album by K-pop girl group aespa. aespa are definitely one of the biggest K-pop girl groups in the scene right now, being one of SM's darlings and also having one of the more interesting concepts in K-pop at the moment. The first mini-album that they released really showed promise, featuring these trap pop bangers that also expressed a bit of an experimental side. Their second mini-album, Girls, also furthered this, however it was a bit messy in comparison to the first. However, I felt that their sort of virtual world concept was expressed pretty well on both mini-albums, especially thanks to their sort of maximalist electro-inspired production. This new mini-album, though, just outdoes all the others. With the concept of this mini-album basically being the girls escaping into the real world, we get a more natural pop sound emerging. This was a great decision, as not only do the girls themselves feel much more natural and real performing these styles of songs, but the harsh and fuzzy pop sound also makes them stand out even more than they did before, I think. The intro to this project, Welcome to My World, also showcases their range a little bit, as this mini-album is not only filled with those fuzzy pop bangers, but also has a bit more of a contemporary R&B side too. The delicate vocals and electric guitar twangs really help build up the tension and really just make you want to get into this mini-album. They create a moody and dreamlike atmosphere while building hype at the same time. The verses have a fun flow to them, and I'm really digging all of these sort of sound effects that they're mixing into this fairly rigid trap beat. The chorus was also especially well done, with the strings and big drum presence make this song feel very grand in addition to having that ethereal vibe that the track was going for originally. The lyrics also fit this concept, as they are basically showing the listener a glimpse into their world as they enter ours. Next up we got Spicy, and now it's time for the really good shit. The fuzzy pop sound is harsh, yet totally catchy too. It almost gives me like Clarence Clarity vibes. Karina's vocals are filled with attitude, and the organ and beat create a very full soundscape that I just love. The vocals are fun and have a confident feel to them, in addition to having many different vocal inflections too. I'm loving these vocal harmonies and also that sort of dubstep-esque breakdown that manages to rein itself in enough to match with the overall pop sound of the song. To be honest, this is kind of the sound that I want to see aespa pursue more in the future, because I think it fits them super well. The lyrics are also really fun, having that sort of femme fatale vibe and how they're just drawing everybody in, and how you can decide on whether they're going to be sweet or a freak. As if that pop style couldn't get any better, we get Salty and Sweet, which is by far my favorite song on the mini-album. That beat is punchy as hell, especially with that sort of tinny, almost industrial sounding synth backing it up. The vocals and flows just exude that bad bitch energy that I adore, and I also find that the chorus is just extremely slick and fun to listen to. It's just so satisfying overall, and the girls also have this sort of playful cadence to them that just shows them taking command over this instrumental. I'm also especially loving the background vocals on this track. Speaking of vocals, my girl Ning Ning, of course, is killing it on this track, and I'm also really digging the almost instrumental bridge on this one, too. It's a bold choice that shows that they know that this beat goes hard. The instrumental manages to be both poppy and metallic, like it's perfect for them. It's such a refreshing sound that they went for here, even if the mix can sound a bit quiet compared to other songs for some reason. Thirsty goes back to the contemporary R&B sound of the intro, but man, this one still hits. It's catchy and sensual and has that sort of like trance-like aesthetic to it that just really makes it addicting to listen to. It flows well, those 808s also really fit this sound, and I find that the chorus is just really dreamlike and ethereal. They managed to make an almost cold-sounding instrumental sound warm, which I think is pretty impressive. The harmonies really shine here as well, and I'm also digging how many vocal styles are on this track. They have these elegant singing flows at one point, yet these sort of jittery hip-hop inspired flows at another. They both work though, and I think this is because they are adjusting their vocals and flows to fit the instrumental rather than just trying to show off their vocal skills. The twinkling synths are really cute, and I just think that this song comes together as a really well-rounded contemporary R&B package. The lyrics are pretty similar to Spicy's lyrics actually, however it features the girls letting their guard down a little bit more, which creates some pretty interesting thematic parallels, I think. I'm Unhappy is also a pretty interesting track, continuing the vibe from the previous track, however taken in a more fairy tale-like direction. It's like an R&B fairy tale, if that even exists. The beat is definitely a bigger focus on this track, being a bit more hip-hop inspired as well, and I find that the vocals take a more subdued approach here. The flows are still fun though, even if I find that the verses can be a little too sparse at times. The synth that eventually comes in and wraps around the instrumental adds a pretty funky touch though, especially during that final chorus. Gazelle's part is especially catchy on this one, I think, and I'm also really digging the sort of lyrical switch up as they say I'm happy instead of unhappy at the end, which is kind of, I guess, them progressing through their grief in some such way, and I think that's a pretty interesting lyrical topic for K-pop that is a little underexplored, so good for them. Finally, we get Till We Meet Again, and this one's okay. It's kind of your typical K-pop ending ballad featuring the acoustic guitar and the light and airy vocals. However, I do like the sort of subtle electro elements that do tie this song back into their sound. The strings from the intro also return here, kind of bringing the mini-album full circle, which is a nice touch. The vocals are pretty powerful and swell nicely, however, I just can't feel that this feels kind of tame for what is otherwise a pretty interesting and experimental mini-album. Again, it's not a bad song, and there are some pretty impressive performances on here, but I just don't feel like it rounds the mini-album's sound out all that well. That being said though, overall, I think this is a pretty solid step forward for aespa. They managed to take a very harsh and fuzzy pop sound and make it catchy and just really interesting and unique too. Like I said, it kind of gives me Clarence Clarity vibes a little bit, but a lot more accessible. That being said, where's the collab? Come on, Clarence Clarity, let's produce for aespa. Let's get that right now. The contemporary R&B moments were also pretty well done too, and they fit in surprisingly well with this pop sound I found, even if they can be a little sparse in comparison. Great production, great vocals, varied flows, like this was a really fun listen. However, I do wish we got a bit more of that fuzzy pop sound. I feel like we've just got a glimpse of it, and I kind of wish that was the sound of the whole mini-album. It's where I thought this project was at its most interesting, and I really hope they don't abandon this sound entirely as they move forward. I also thought that the ending song, again, felt a bit standard in comparison to what was on this project, and we all know that aespa isn't standard. I just hope they keep the sound up, or at least go back to it every now and again, because I think this is a great sound, a great aesthetic that really fits aespa nicely. I'm feeling a decent 8 on aespa's My World. Of course, we do have to talk about album covers on this show, and I think this is actually a pretty cool mini-album cover. It's pretty rare for K-pop albums and K-pop mini-albums to not feature the group members on the cover. I mean, granted, nowadays it feels like it is a bit more common, but it's always cool to see when a cover is more design-oriented, and I think the sort of it's kind of Y2K. The sort of balloon letters aesthetic over the city background I think was really well done. The color choices were also great. I like that bright green in contrast to the sort of blues. However, it still has that lighter touch to it as well. I think it fits their sort of pop aesthetic that they're going for on this mini-album nicely. But those are just my thoughts on aespa's newest mini-album. What did you guys think? Do you think this is a promising new sound for them? This is something that they should explore further? Or are you kind of missing their more electro, virtual world aesthetic that was on their previous mini-albums? Let me know. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell if you want to enter my world, and until the next one, farewell.